Okay. Okay. Good. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Smithfield Town Council Tuesday, September 25th meeting to order. There were no votes in executive session, so there's no need to disclose any. Our prayer: Lord, may your goodness and love be present among us today. Come bless our gathering with unity, hope, and vision. Amen.
Amen.
Salute to the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emergency evacuation and health notifications.
Thank you, Council President. There's two main exits from the Town Council chambers. To the left of the stage, up the stairs will take you out the back of the building. On the back of the council chambers to your right, the stairs will take you out the front of the building. Just past that on the right is the men's facility. Up the stairs to the left is the ladies' facility. Please do not use the elevator in time of emergency.
Thank you, sir. Presentations. We have a Smithfield Samaritan Award presentation tonight. The Smithfield Samaritan program encourages anyone in the community to self-nominate or submit a name to the town manager of a Smithfield resident or business in town who's doing or has performed an act of kindness or good deed that is notable or charitable. I'm just going to read it and have her come on. Yes. All right. Is she here? Yes. Barbara Hebert is the owner of Creative Hair Design on Greenville Avenue, where she has worked as a hairdresser for many years. Creative Hair Design is a welcoming place for anyone to walk in for service. When you visit Creative Hair Design, it's like being welcomed into Barbara's home. All her clients are her personal guests. To repurpose a line from a well-known restaurant chain, when you're at Creative Hair Design, you're like family. Barbara goes above and beyond for her clients, particularly the elderly. Wherever her clients are, that's where she'll meet them. She and her husband David often offer transportation for their homebound clients, driving them to and from their appointments. Barbara will even offer to visit their homes or to visit them in nursing homes to do their hair when her clients are no longer able to travel to the salon. And while all this is noteworthy, Barbara goes even a step beyond that in her service to her clients and their families. She has driven her clients to doctor's appointments in instances where their families were unable to do so. Rather than reschedule, Barbara volunteered herself to step up and help her clients attend these appointments. All of this kindness isn't done with expectation or recognition. Barbara cares deeply about her customers and her community, and she does what she can to assist in times of need. To us, there is no better example of a good Samaritan, and that's Barbara Hebert, and they nominated Charlene Winfield, Capiano, and Thomas Winfield. They nominated her, so.
Yeah. Come on up, we're all gonna come down.
Or when they get the notice. The official notice.
Really nice.
And on to item B, presentations, public trust declaration presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barbara Rich. I'm the chair of the Smithfield Land Trust, and we're here tonight to talk about the public trust. And I'm going to let Tom Rogers, who's the president of the Rhode Island Land Trust Council, come up and tell you all about it.
Good evening. As Barbara said, my name is Tom Rogers. I'm the board of the Rhode Island Land Trust Council. It's an organization which supports the 47-plus individual land trusts, but I'm also the chair of the Narragansett Land Conservancy Trust as well. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you an important tool available to towns to perpetually protect their town-owned conservation properties. And thank you, Mike Iannotti, for the invitation to address this council. Municipal land trusts acquire properties which are either protected by a third-party conservation, such as DEM, usually associated as a condition of federal or state funds which are required to purchase the properties, or they're likely not protected if they're acquired by local bonds or by donations. It's the latter category, which is the one that most concerns us, because every property that's town-owned that is not preserved or conserved by a third-party conservation easement is only 3 votes away from disaster. Since there are 19 municipal land trusts in Rhode Island, the risk has been a major focus of the Land Trust Council. In Narragansett, a building was purchased in October of 2018 for a new library using local bonds that was approved by 2/3 of the voters. Yet in December of 2018, 2 months later, a new town council decided with just 3 votes to sell the property, ignoring the will of the people. It took another referendum, another council, to finally be able to proceed with the project, but only because they couldn't find a willing buyer for the property. So disaster was averted. As a relatively new chair for the Land Trust in Narragansett, I wondered whether, given the fact that the library building was put up for sale when it had been acquired by will of the voters, could that also mean that any town conserved properties could also be sold with just 3 votes of a town council? Of the 345 acres that Narragansett has under the stewardship of the Land Trust, 135 of them had no third-party protection, third-party conservation easements to protect its properties. In talking with Rupert Friday, the then executive director of the Land Trust Council, he confirmed my fears, but he also informed me that the council is working with the General Assembly to pass enabling legislation that would allow towns to declare that certain properties are held within the public trust. Now, the public trust is a legal document rooted in English common law, the colony's 1663 charter, and also the Rhode Island Constitution, and considers that some resources are so important that we trust them to the government to maintain for the people. This doctrine is typically related to coastal and estuarine resources, but with the encouragement of Land Trust Council, the 2021 General Assembly did in fact pass the legislation. A copy of it's in your package. Rhode Island towns now have a powerful tool to perpetually protect conservation lands, requiring only a resolution of the town council to place those properties in the public trust. On March 21st of 2022, the Narragansett Town Council unanimously approved a resolution to hold these 135 acres I was so concerned about in the public trust, so they are now perpetually protected. So I'm very happy that the Smithfield Town Council may be considering the passage of the resolutions in your package. And I wonder if you have any questions.
I just have one. It says at the bottom, a copy of the resolution shall be recorded by the town clerk. And anyways, for each parcel listed below, is there a list of
So the plan for tonight was to have the brief overview of what this means, and then to bring forward the listing to the council next week, next meeting, I'm sorry, for consideration. But it's a good question, because, yeah, that goes, there's nothing there.
You don't want to see all of them. It's legal definitions which will make your head hurt.
Yeah, we've put together a list with the town planner, which not only includes our land trust properties, but also our parks, our recreational properties, and it's 30 properties we have on the list. Comprises over 1,000 acres property in the town, and these trusts are very important, because when people donate property to the land trust, they want to know that the property they donate is going to be held for that purpose, be held by the land trust in perpetuity, because otherwise they may not want to donate their property. And a few years ago, there was a bill introduced into the General Assembly that called for the abolition of the Smithfield Land Trust. And that had a very bad effect, even though it didn't pass, it had a very bad effect on the land trust's ability to get people in the town to donate their property to the land trust. So that's one big reason why we need to get extra protection on these properties. And since we can do that, we may as well also protect our very important other properties that the town owns. The town owns, obviously, places like Deerfield Park and Camp Shepherd, and also some of the conservation areas in the town. For example, the Connors Farm Conservation Area, which has a multitude of trails that's maintained by the Conservation Commission, that's also owned by the town itself and not the land trust. So for that reason, we really need to get some extra protection on these very valuable resources.
Yeah, when I was talking to Mike a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned he was looking to try to put 1,000 acres under the public trust, I was very jealous, because we had 135 acres, and that's all we had that wasn't protected. Some of it was protected, but 1,000 acres is just a wonderful resource. So I'm really, really happy you're considering it. It's great.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Yeah.
But as a final comment, I'd like to make a plug. I'd like to encourage all to participate in one of the over 60 walks in the annual Land Trust Council's annual Land Trust Days over the next 6 weeks. And specifically, and this is a plug that Cheryl and Barbara told me to say, basically specifically the walk through Latham Brook Preserve on September 16th at 9:30. So thank you again for the opportunity to address you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to minutes. Move that the minutes of the August 8, 2023 executive session meeting held pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-585, real estate, to consider, discuss, and act upon a potential land purchase, and Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A1, personnel, to interview Patricia Williams and Paul Harrison for possible appointments to a town board or commission, be approved as recorded and sealed.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item B, move that the minutes of the August 8th, 2023 open session meeting be approved as recorded.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, move that the minutes of the August 24th, 2023 work session meeting with the planning board be approved as recorded.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have to abstain.
Item 7, reappointments. Consider, discuss, and act upon the following possible appointments and reappointments. The Boyle Athletic Complex Building Committee appointment.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council appoint Caitlin Charnier to replace Daniel Carey on the Boyle Athletic Complex Building Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 8, public hearings.
Mr. President, I'm going to recuse from this one.
Okay.
The lights will go off.
All right, schedule a public hearing on October 3rd, 2023 to consider, discuss, and act upon zoning ordinance amendments to section 5-11-5, principal solar energy systems, and sections 5-11-6, general requirements for accessory and principal solar energy systems. Sponsored by council members Rachel Toppy and Michael Ionati.
Mr. President, I move that we schedule the public hearing, and also want to say that, the Smithfield Planning Board did approve these changes last Thursday. And what these changes would do is basically reduce the amount of forested area that can be clear cut for the installation of a solar system from 40% down to 25%. It would, and this basically extends the protection of our forest to the commercial and industrial areas, because as you will remember, ground solar over 1,750 feet is now prohibited in residential areas. Also, a solar energy applicant will be required to assess the impacts of the forest loss and how the impacts can be mitigated. The applicant now has to address water quality, wildlife habitats, carbon sequestration, energy storage, and the effects on adjacent properties. The planning board also voted to increase the buffer between ground-mounted solar systems on commercial or industrial properties and residential zones from our present 50-foot buffer to a 300-foot buffer. And from public or private roads, the buffer between the project and the roads from 100 feet to 150 feet. Landscaping will also have to be designed now to visually screen the solar panels from roads and adjoining properties. As I've said many times, it makes no sense to clear cut trees for solar farms when they remove carbon from the atmosphere and provide us with the semi-rural feeling that we all value here in Smithfield. And by increasing the buffers between our commercial and industrial properties and our residential properties, we'll be protecting our residents from any negative effects that may occur by having, an energy facility built near their property. Mr. President, I move that we schedule the public hearing on these proposed amendments for October 3rd, 2023.
Second.
I'm not laughing at you, the chair just went down. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Yeah. All right. Conduct a public hearing to discuss and act upon the possible suspension, revocation, or other sanction regarding the listed vigilant-only license due to non-renewal or non-compliance with all the conditions of renewal. This is for the Level 10 Nutrition Club, LLC, DBA, the Level 10 Nutrition Club, 10C Cedar Swamp Road, failure to produce a copy of the retail sales permit.
They have complied.
What's that?
I have their retail sales permit, so they have complied. They're all set.
All right. Move on to licenses. There's none. Old business, none. New business. Item A, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for drainage, maintenance, loam, and seed and tree plantings within the Deer Run Estates subdivision.
Hey, good evening, Council. Kevin Clary, Town Engineer. Tonight, I bring before you a request for proposals to hopefully finish most of the general remaining work at the Deer Run Estates subdivision. As you recall, the subdivision went into default by the original developer. Town Council and Town Planning Board took actions to default the bond and execute some of the tasks associated with finishing the balance of remaining works associated with the subdivision that would, at the time of recording, was held in performance bond. To date, the Town Engineer's Office, in coordination with Public Works, has completed a significant degree of the work out there, mainly paving the road, some drainage repairs that needed to be done, streetlight installations, and survey work. At this time, the remaining work to be done, after seeing what the budget figures are, is to hopefully attempt completing the balance of bonded incomplete works as listed in the schedule that's called out in the RFP, mostly related to a little bit of small drainage work, detention pond maintenance, loam and seed of shoulder edges of the roadway, and if budget allows, the remaining installation of tree plantings throughout the street trees along the right-of-way for the public right-of-way. And we included that particular last item as an alternate, not being sure if we'll have enough money to complete it all, but and some residences have already installed some street trees along their own frontage, so we may be able to add alts somewhere else. So having said that, I asked for the council's permission to advertise in conjunction with the procurement officer to advertise the requested services.
Thank you.
How much money is there left in the from the bond default?
According to my latest figures, there's just a little under 100,000 left. So
What was the original bond?
the original bond was in excess of 300,000. There was a reduction that brought it down to 233,000. And to date, we've spent, according to my records, almost 134,000. So it leaves about 99,000 and change left.
I just want to say, I went there and it looks so much better than it did like 10 months ago, so I'm really happy for them. This may be a dumb question, but the site cleanup, is that the site cleanup after this work is performed or from the developer, the site cleanup?
A little bit of both. So there was, during construction processes, the developer who built the subdivision actually did some of the homes. And a lot of fugitive construction debris drifted off into the woods and surrounding perimeter and along the limits of disturbance. So some of it's, building materials, some of it's wind blown stuff that got stuck up in trees and bags and house siding and stuff like that. So there's going to be a general sweep of the perimeter to clean up the limits of disturbance.
I was wondering because the debris that I noticed, there's only really like a few places, but those lots are sold. So why is it our responsibility to clean that up?
Most of the stuff is limited to just in the open space areas.
Oh,
So
I didn't see a lot of that. Okay.
There is still some stuff hanging around in the woods
Sure.
out there. Some of the leaf litter
In
may
the
be
woods.
obscuring it.
Oh, in the beginning, you mean? Area? Like
Along the rear limits beyond, most of the parcels of
Oh.
land out there were cleared pretty much border to border.
Okay.
Up to the edge of the open space. So some of it went beyond that point into the open spaces. It'll just be a general sweep of that, clean up and dispose of that, those deleterious items appropriately.
Great. Sure they'll be happy about the trees.
Yes. All about the trees.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Item B, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing change order number 1 with Coin Mechanical, Inc. in the amount of $51,175.00 for work associated with the rooftop units replacement project at the Smithfield High School.
Thank you, Council President. I was just asking to have if I could speak, the Director of Buildings and Grounds from the school department, Angelo, to speak about this, to give you a little more detail.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. Before you have change order number 1 in reference to, as the town manager said, 2 rooftop units at Smithfield High School, units 1 and 2. These 2 units service the administrative area and the counseling area to the left side, which would be guidance. The units were installed in 1995 by Train and during the renovation when they put on the science wing. At that time, Train was using a system known as the Tracer system, which will not interface with our current system we are installing. I want to point out that when Honeywell first brought this change order to our committee and with the town manager present, this change order was in excess of $90,000. We asked that Honeywell if we could assume the responsibility and move forward with the change order, if we could assume the responsibility for this change. If you look what we're presenting, I have Coin Mechanical, who is currently under contract for installing the 10 rooftop units. Coin Mechanical will be responsible for submitting to Train the scope of work that you see, and also overseeing that project to make sure it conforms to their standards, because they are installing all 10 of the units. And one piece I'd like to also bring forward to the council, I noticed you have a $51,175 number. It truly is, after Coin Mechanical assumes the responsibility for bringing this forward, the number that would go forward is $57,316, as indicated on AIA document G701 on page 2 of your document.
Is there a reason it wasn't done before the kids went back to school?
Train did not deliver the units. I still don't have them all.
Oh,
We ordered them in December,
wow.
and it's just, we don't have them all. We're actually short 3 units as we are right now, and we will begin when we have them all in place.
What do these units actually do? Do they provide heat and air?
Air conditioning, heating and air
conditioning.
conditioning units, yes.
So the high school will be air conditioned?
Certain areas of the high school are air conditioned already.
Right.
Each unit is a unit replacing a unit that is doing the same options within the school in the same area. Just it would be an upgrade. We now have an EMS system that will control scheduling, temperature, and control. And also going on now with Honeywell, they are retrofitting all of the unit vents in every classroom. All the heat transfer pumps have been replaced, and the boilers are currently being replaced in the high school and the middle school at this time. A very large project moving forward.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, C, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the Rhode Island Community Learning Center Compact as an amendment to the Learn 365 Rhode Island Municipal Compact.
I was trying to say that the most confusing way possible. Thank you, Council President. So the compact that's before the council this evening is an addendum to the program that we signed a few months back for the Learn 365. That program was fruitful to the community, allowing us to obtain an additional $240,000 for educational, either equipment or services to expand beyond the school day. This portion expands that even further to bring these components potentially to the East Smithfield Neighborhood Center. By us being a part of this compact, we're able to expand our eligibility to a minimum of $1.5 million to go towards the neighborhood center to finish all the remaining aspects and build out with all the necessary equipment and other types of fixtures within that building. So I'm asking the council to consider this evening for us to sign the amendment, approve signing the amendment to the Learn 365, so that we can open up the possibility of receiving those funds.
I have a question. All these services, are they going to be just for Smithfield residents, or are they going to be open to others?
The intent is for Smithfield only, but we wouldn't be stopping somebody at the door if they came in. But the intent is always to service our residents.
And any strings attached, as I asked last time?
So the strings attached is that we maintain the services in the building. And so the plan, we're planning to maintain after all that work that we're doing in the building to continue serving the community. So that would be the only thing. This part isn't as much of the strings. It's more when we actually get the agreement for the grant that we'd have to sign on to specific things. But it's all part of partnerships that we'd be doing with other entities to provide the services. A perfect example is the way that the Learn 365 was able to work was because it was a partnership between the Smithfield YMCA and the school department. So they were able to partner together and expand that, where we're going to have those partners as well involved, as well as the library, Tri-County, Gateway Health, and a few other entities, including the Department of Labor and Training, to make these services work.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a projected cost of all this stuff for long term?
So the majority of it is to actually be funded by the other entities that are already doing it. We're fine tuning that now with our proposal. So that's why the second piece, when we actually, accept, whether or not we accept a grant, will be the time that we actually decide if we're going to go forward with it.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
So we're working what programming we don't have to pay for is the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have to do each and every one of these items listed here in order to get the money?
It's the basis is really the main points. So meaning the education component, the workforce component, and the health component. So as long as it's in the intent of the programming, line by line, as we learned in the other compact, it's suggested areas, but as long as we meet the programming is what's under the U.S. Treasury is what we really need to follow.
So we will have sort of a say in it, but not really.
Yes, no, we're definitely. So as long as we're providing the programs in concept of what they're looking for, we have the say in how we make it work.
Okay, good.
What partners we bring in, and that's the whole thing that we're trying to. They just released actually this afternoon the application for it, so it actually lays it out in more detail. So we're going to start working through that. We have 45 days to get that done now, but it's a great opportunity for us.
Great.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a contract to the Rhode Island Master Price Agreement with HP Inc. in an amount not to exceed $12,160.00 for 16 new laptops for the Smithfield Fire Department.
Can I just find it? Sorry. Thank you, Council President, Council members. This item before you is part of our technology upgrades that we've been doing town-wide with the opera funding. This proposal was put together in conjunction between the chief and our IT director, Dave DeShano, who's with us, filming us live. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions with it. These units are really robust units to be able to allow for the processing, of their different softwares, their dispatching, GIS processing, and so forth. So when they're out in the field, so that's what these units are for.
Okay, thank you.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item E, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for the sale of the William Windsor Elementary School, pending final approval by the town solicitor.
Thank you, Council President. With the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative closing out all of operations at the end of next week at the William Windsor School, they're finalizing all the remaining items that were being liquidated, and then they're doing a top-to-bottom cleaning of the facility They'll be turning the building back over to the town. And in conjunction with that, I'm bringing before you this RFP to get on the street and see what the interest is. We've received numerous phone calls of the interest of this property. This is the best approach so that we can start receiving those proposals and then bring them back before the town council to consider which direction to go with the facility. And also to not allow the building to stand, empty for as long as it could potentially be.
It says the minimum bid is $2,300,000. Where did that number come from?
So that number came from the appraisal that was conducted on the property.
What types of entities have expressed interest?
We've had interest from multiple for-profit schools, as well as some housing entities.
I'm excited to see what some of these proposals will come back as, just to see what the potential of this building is. I know we spoke already about, my concerns about this property and moving forward, and there definitely are going to be a lot of legitimate ones, but in terms of the scheduling and planning, just to see what's going to be coming down, possibilities, pretty excited for that. I'll move passage.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I had one more question. It says under the development requirements that the development plan shall address the town's need for affordable housing as expressed in the housing element of the town's comprehensive community plan. That seems very restrictive, yet in the memo from Carlos Santos, purchasing agent, it just indicates that they would look at that we'd be looking for different things, including affordable housing.
I'm not sure that it must have been at the ending of the last revisions that got more fine-tuned. I'll make sure that we get that corrected in conjunction with the solicitor to allow the options more fluidly.
Don't you think that? No other option.
Is that the only concern change? I'll amend my motion with those changes.
Second.
Somebody wants to speak on it?
Sure.
Good evening, Council President Paul Santucci, 10 Appletown Road. Is there any reason why this would not go to a public hearing before you put out an RFP? Thank you.
Do we have to?
No, I mean, it's just for, I know I understand what Paul's saying, but there's no, it's just an RFP. So what'll happen, the RFP, the responses will come back, and the council will vet them. And, I mean, there's not gonna be a scheduled public hearing on it, the council will just award it. But we'll basically decide under the RFP that none of the proposals meet the specifications and just move on and go out and re-advertise again.
We're still putting the cart before the horse, though. This is just
to
send it out
just to send out an RFP.
So with all due respect, I didn't have a copy of the detail from tonight. So in the packet, there wasn't the extra ones have gone. That's all right. I was trying to get online. I couldn't. That's all right. Are the details in the packet that I can look up? Okay.
Yes, and we'll fine tune this if you want to wait another day too. When we fine tune that language, I can send you the final one too.
Okay.
What we were just talking about, because that's kind of detailed on to define.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So is there like a scoring system of what
Yes.
you're looking for? Okay. All right. Beautiful. All right. Thank you.
He's gonna send it.
That's right. I'll get it.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to a public hearing.
No,
If
you
we
can have
wanted
it
to
if you
do
want.
that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, maybe this is premature as well. Have we thought about what we want to do with the money from the sale?
Officially, no. I mean, some of the things that we've talked about is in order to potentially put it towards other projects that we have in the works right now, but nothing's been solidified.
yeah, maybe that's what we would have the public hearing on.
Whatever the council chooses.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item F, consider, discuss, and act upon approving tax abatements in the amount of $28,620.95.
So moved.
Seconded.
What is the Smithfield Office Center? Is that still in business?
Yes, it's one of the two large office buildings at the beginning of Thurber Boulevard.
Oh, okay, oh, okay.
On the, where one has, it's not this one, but the other one has the Neighborhood Health Group, and then the other one is right behind it, which is the Brown Medicine Building.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 12, public comment. If anyone wants to come up and speak, just leave name and address.
Good evening, Council President Paul Santucci, 10 Appletown Road. I'd like to address an issue that came up at the August 8th meeting regarding the purchase of a second wood chipper for $90,000. When I went back and I looked at the video, Mr. Allen had mentioned that this would be, I guess, for lack of a better word, a spare, so that in the event of a hurricane, that we could remove debris faster. So, I mean, $90,000 is a lot of money, and it may seem trivial, but I believe that it represents a big hole in what I think is a problem with the capital plan. As some of you remember, I was a member of the Charter Review Commission, which spent thousands of hours reviewing many aspects of the town, including a 20-year town-wide capital plan. In my opinion, this capital plan is not working with the end in mind. It's starting with the beginning. It's starting with this 5-year period. So in the testimony that was provided on July 16th, 2020, was a public hearing that was over a 5-hour period. Granted, this was during COVID, but I wanted to just kind of nip this in the bud. What we had detailed, I mean, Tommy Winfield remembers this exactly as I did. The goal of the 20-year plan was, if you kind of picture in your mind a 20-year Excel spreadsheet, just simplified. And for purposes of the example, what we were trying to accomplish was to back into items that were going to need replacement. So the idea was that we were going to catalog every asset that we had in town. So whether it's a wood chipper that we have, or whether it was a school roof, the idea was that we would put, and at the time, the school roof was a perfect example because we were just going through the reconfiguration. And so the example was, if we put roofs in place on 3 schools, even in today's dollars, let's say it's $6 million. If you just use the rule of 72, you know, that's going to double in 24 years to $12 million with, you know, so, and that's at 3% inflation, or, 3% inflation. So it would necessitate that we would need to put away over $250,000 a year, and we would still come up short. We would only have about 8.7 million using that example. Now, a moment ago, we just heard Angelo Mancucci speak about the fact that they just put in boilers, et cetera. And so those would be, in a townwide capital plan, those boilers would, I don't know what the useful life of a boiler is. Let's say it's 20 years. The whole goal is that we don't want to go out to bond, especially things like roofs, but we certainly want to make sure that we're utilizing and we're good stewards of our money. So we want to make sure that, you know, in 19 years, or here we are 3 years later, those roofs right now would be in year 17, coming due and rolling forward every year. And so the 20-year capital plan would not be just a 5-year chunk of money. It would be, you know, we would catalog every single item that needs replacement, what its useful life is, what the replacement cost is, et cetera. And I just think that we're at a point where we need to reassess what is happening with this. So again, I had reached out to Tom Winfield and a few other members of the Charter Review Commission. And we don't believe that this is currently being executed the way that we had proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Joe O'Connor, 6 Apple Tree Lane. I want to first apologize for rehashing something that I've already brought up previously. But I'm going to give you a brief description of why I'm here and take it for what it's worth. But 57 years ago, Dr. Smith came to the residents in the Apple Tree Lane area asking for permission to build a building for his medical practice. And the residents agreed, provided there was no access to or from the building from Apple Tree Lane. Dr. Smith agreed. He put up little cinder blocks along the way, built a couple of poles and a chain across, and everybody lived happily ever after. Then Dr. Mars sold the building to Mr. Zolano. Now, Mr. Zolano has been a very, very good neighbor. Have no problems at all with Mr. Zolano. But during the 57 years, the cement blocks eroded, the chain went down, and all of a sudden Apple Tree Lane became Mineral Spring Avenue. Now, I guess it was in 220 that Mr. Zolano wanted to build an addition. The neighbors got up a petition not to allow the addition. And it went to the zoning board, and through their infinite wisdom, they granted the petition for the addition. There was a proviso, however, that there would be no access to and from the property from Apple Tree Lane. Now, we waited, maybe we let the project go. There was no problems with anybody. The project ended and nothing was done about the access to and from. I came here in April and explained to you the problem. Maybe 2 weeks after that, the Department of Public Works came up and they installed 4 pipes, and they put tapes, caution tapes, across those 2 poles and those 2 poles, nothing in the middle. So it didn't stop anybody from coming in and going out. Now, right now, the tapes on the left-hand side, it's completely down. The one on the right is probably a foot from the road. And there are still cars going in and out. Now, I don't know if some of you know the old comedy Bewitched, where Gladys Kravitz looks out the window all the time looking for problems in the neighborhood. Well, there's no Gladys Kravitzes on Apple Tree Lane. But we are all wondering, and again, let me just say, I have been called abrasive, obnoxious, and arrogant by more than a few people. And I have no problem with that. I probably agree with it. And I'll tell you what, I can't come to the next meeting because I have a previous engagement with the Smithfield soccer team. However, I will be back here on the 19th. And if something is not done, I'm going to add something to the arrogance and the obnoxious. It's going to be stupid. I'm gonna do something stupid. So I'm 86 years old. They come and arrest me. I personally don't give a damn. But we were promised no access. We want no access. Thank you very much. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not casting any aspersions on any department heads or criticizing this council. I'm just saying we're upset and we want something done. Thank you.
More comments? Motion to adjourn?